Come on, Stuart, into the van. It's pouring down.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Jeez.
Bloody hell.
We've gone from really nice hot weather.
Boiling hot one minute, next minute, fuck ending with rain. What's next?
I don't want to jinx it. Hello and welcome to Trackside Talks again, your monthly podcast where we talk everything railways and heritage. I'm the Coss, Ben, and I've got Stuart the Lookout. We're out on the Mainline just doing a patrol today, and it's absolutely pouring down.
Well, we were.
We were, yes. Thankfully, we were close to the van when the thunder started, and of course, being safe and whatnot, we don't want to be outside if it's lightning next to tracks and overhead wires.
I don't fancy getting electrocuted.
No, I don't either. So, it's been a bit of a month, really, hasn't it?
Oh, aye.
We've got some interesting news.
Fair amount of stuff's happened.
Yes, so the big one, actually, I forgot to mention, we spoke about this last time. 19B, the Darjeeling tank from the Beaches Lights Railway, actually went on auction today, 21st of the 6th, 2023, as of recording. And she sold, as long as a lot of the rest of the collection. I was actually watching part of the auction live online as it happened. I missed I missed the tank engine going on sale. But do you want to know how much she went for?
Tell me.
250,000.
Another $250,000 more, and you can get a working bucket.
Well,
so not too bad.
The people that got her are the Darjeeling Trust. So
she's staying put.
She's staying in the UK, and as an official announcement on Facebook, she is going to be stationed out of Stafford Barn Railway.
Oh, so you'll get to see her more often then.
Yep. She will be used at Stafford until her boiler ticket runs out in February, where she will go in for a overhaul, and then more news will come about a tour around the country in 2024. So she is going mobile. And to top it off, the trust also saved her 2 coaches. So we've got the set.
Excellent.
Yeah, they've got the set, which was the main one. It was like we want to keep the coaches together and all that lot. So yeah, Statfold will have 19B as well as 2 coaches. So winner. So it was a very.
Question is, where are all the wagons going?
I don't know at this time, but from my understanding, it was a very successful auction. The trust is very happy, and hopefully one day we can actually get them on and talk to them. So that'd
be interesting.
That's one of the few major bits of news. Another engine is coming back out, or a couple of more engines are a bit slowly being restored. You know a bit about one of them?
T3?
The USA?
Or the USA tank?
The USA, and we could do the T3 as well.
Well, the T3 we've seen plenty of pictures of, and she is looking gorgeous.
She is looking nice. That's going to be fun to chase.
Oh yeah.
And there was an announcement.
We're heading back to Swanage when she comes back.
Swanage, is it?
Yeah, she's been given to Swanage. The NRM deaccessioned her.
Ah, okay. So what does that mean?
She's not the only one. She's been cast away from the collection. She's no longer part of the national collection.
Oh. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, they have been doing that a lot recently.
Huh. Maybe they just kind of...
Yeah, they got rid of her before the lockdown. Okay. They got rid of her before the lockdown, and she wasn't the only one. The North Staffordshire tank was among them as well.
Okay, so this USA tank? Number 3.
Yes, number 64. She was previously a Bluebell.
All right.
There's plenty of videos and photos of her when she was still running, but as of more recent, she was in an absolute state. According to some of the Bluebell volunteers, they did not like her. She ran rough.
I did have
So
Bluebell, and I have seen a USA tank down there. It might be the same one, actually, and it was called...
that was the same one.
I think it was called Track Whacker or something. Or something even worse.
Probably.
It would cause a lot of damage to the track because of the motion and everything.
Yeah, but that's her.
Okay.
But there was a post put out on the 22nd of May.
Oh, yes.
From the people who took her away. She's being stripped down, and they are continuing with a full overhaul of her.
Oh, good.
And there were pictures that, if you remember me putting them in, of her smoke box.
Yep. And we'll put the pictures on screen now.
Yes, so they posted the update showing temporary photo of the smoke box door, photo with the boiler. What does it say here? Another exciting part recently, number 6. Okay, so that's her original smoke box door that they took a photo with. So they've cracked out of that rather quick. Huh. But according to this, her original hinges went missing.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good news then.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one.
So,
speaking of weird, should we talk about Scotsman?
Well, not yet, because there's another bit of good news coming out. Another engine is going in for overhaul. In North Yorkshire, number 60019, Bittern. So we get to see another A4 coming back into service.
About bloody time!
Aye. And a new entity will be formed, the SNG Engineering Limited.
Because not the group behind Nigel are...
Yeah,
it's the group behind Nigel assisting with that one, aren't they?
Yeah, to operate Nigel Gresley. This builds on the agreement signed in 2019 to operate Sir Nigel Gresley on the mainline with the LSG. To facilitate the overhaul, an entirely new entity will be formed, SNG Engineering Limited. Will be completed in North Yorkshire at the new engineering location. At a new engineering location that has been secured. And doesn't seem to say anything if she'll be coming back to the main line.
Guarantee you she will. It's Bittern.
So
why wouldn't they?
She's obviously like she's a bit of a shapeshifter, is Bittern, isn't she?
She is the shapeshifter of the A4s. She's done static display Silver Link. She's done static display Silver Link. She's went around as Dominion New Zealand. She's went around as herself on 2 different liveries. I don't know if she's been around as any others, but she's definitely taken on a few forms in preservation.
So, but obviously, let's see, Chairman's comment. I'm pleased we are able to announce this to members. It is something we've been working on for a long time, and I see it central to the long-term future of SNGLT and the continued operation of the Sir Nigel Gresley. Maintaining and passing on the skills needed to keep an A4 operational is something that we must do to ensure a successful future, and this arrangement gives us opportunity. Apparently, overhauling Bittern has been part of the plan since the early days of discussing with LSL, with background work going on for some time. However, the reason behind the move to Yorkshire is that LSL have acknowledged that they have more steam locos than they can overhaul.
Plus, Blue Peter's been taking a long time, so
well,
that'll be partly why the decision's been made.
Locomotive Service Group to overhaul. Yeah. Okay. So the Sir Nigel Gresley Trust is going to be working with the Locomotive Service Group to overhaul Bittern. But obviously her return to the main line is questionable with the news the other month that Flying Scotsman could be coming off the main line due to... Now this was all over the mainstream media, and I think they've got it completely wrong. due to
it's not just Scotsman that's effective, it's everything that could be affected.
Well, it's mainly the rolling stock, really, I would say. I don't think the locomotives themselves are going to be affected. There could be a way around this, but the rolling stock doesn't have central locking. So basically, anyone can lean out at any point and open the door and fall out of the train while moving. If they do that, they're stupid, but hey-ho.
If they do that, A, they're stupid, B, the guard's not done his job and locked the door.
Yes. Now, this is the big debate, because I think this stems from the accident a few weeks ago at the Great Central, where a gentleman opened the door, stepped out of the carriage, and it wasn't quite on the platform properly, and he dropped a bit further and hurt his leg.
This is why you look before you step.
Well, yes, but you know what the general public are like. But either way, the coach was a little bit over the platform. It was on the down ramp towards the crossing. He stepped out, and there wasn't a platform there for him to stand on, and he unfortunately fell. So obviously this then added the question, the RAIB added the question of, well, hang on a second, how can we stop this happening? And then they looked at the Mainline and went, this could be a problem on the Mainline because they don't have central locking, even though stewards go along and lock the train. Which then also adds the problem, if there's an incident, someone's let to go along and unlock the train. So it's sort of a catch-22.
It's yeah.
Now, obviously, you want to see the steam trains with BR Mark 1s behind them. So, is it going to be possible, because they're mostly, steel and wood, to put central locking systems in?
I imagine
BR
you
Mark
could.
1s? And it's not just the BR Mark 1s, it's all the older rolling stock, because there was that story about
it's
Severn Valley.
Mark 2's backwards, I would say.
Yeah, because there was the thing with the Severn Valley about their Great Western stock, how their slam doors were slightly different, and the general public and some staff didn't know how to use them properly, and doors were opening while on the move. Which again is a question of why isn't the guard going down and securing the doors properly?
Yeah, that's the guard's job. They should be checking doors.
As a guard, I do that at my railway, but yeah, So could we see the end to mainline steam?
I don't. I think if it will continue, but Mark 1s will either A, be withdrawn completely, or B, they will be modified with more of a central locking system. I mean, because with Mark 1s,
the easiest
you could probably retrofit it.
I was just going to say, I think the easiest retrofit would be electromagnets at the top of the doors.
Yeah.
You know how security doors on buildings where you swipe card and that little electromagnet?
Yeah.
I reckon that would be the easiest way. Just run a wire along the roof. No one would see it. And just door to door to door with a buzzer on, or a switch in the guard compartment.
I'd say with a guard's compartment, or
just an on-off switch, and they one for either side. But then again, the next problem is, if you are too long for a station, how do you would have to isolate, or could you do it by coach, like goes along and on each coach?
I imagine you could possibly have a system like that.
Or if you,
but it would require a little bit more. It would require a lot of planning to do something like that.
Yeah. Because again, if you, but again, or you could say if you know.
Saying that, you could also have stewards along the thing saying you can't get off here. You need to go further up.
The mainline rail tours have stewards on pretty much on each coach anyway. From what I understand, there's not like one or two people that you would on a heritage railway. So
yeah, it was like that when I was at Swanage.
Yeah, they have the stewards. So you're not left to your own devices. So I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting one.
Alternatively, they'd probably go to the idea the A1 Trust came up with a few years ago and go to Mark IIIs.
But then you get the wibble. Oh, it can't be a.
Not if they're in intercity swallow, there won't be, because it'll remind them of the coaches and they'll stay quiet.
Yeah, but again, it's like, oh, but Steam's got to go with the BR Mark 1 and all that lot.
Personally, I want to see Steam, a lot more Steam with teaks, but I can't have that now, can I?
Go to the Severn Valley.
Anything looks good with teak.
True.
Anything.
Great Western. Anyway, but I mean, that's not the only thing that the RAIB's been involved with this year. We've got 2 breaking. I mean, talking about doors on the mainline on heritage stock, I think we should be more worried about
Cheshire.
Doors. Yeah, doors on modern stock not shutting. Cheshire Station.
Which Cheshire Station is it?
It just says Cheshire Station.
Is it Style?
Style Station.
Style?
So, a northern train left a 323 electric multiple unit, so rather modern, left Style Station with 5 doors still open on the 3rd of May. So I've been sat on this one. I mean, this story came out 6th of June, so we're still, a little bit over a month old.
Came out on D-Day.
Yeah. So, from what I understand, the driver had previously on the same journey experienced difficulties with the doors and had reported the incident. The driver had, difficulties with the rolling stock. The driver had been unable to release the brakes and apply power. To enable the service to continue, Northern Trains Control instructed the driver to isolate the door safety system so the train could continue its journey.
What were they smoking, and can I have some?
I don't know. The train had travelled for approximately 10 seconds with the doors open, but once it reached 5 kilometres an hour, or 3.1 miles per hour, a safety system was initiated that caused the doors to close automatically. So, 10 seconds while a train is rolling down a platform doesn't sound like much, and at 3.1 mile an hour,
it's more than enough time for someone to feel brave.
It's more than enough time to for someone to go, oh, that's my train, I'll just jump on, slip and get their legs stuck and probably ran over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or someone realising they've missed their stop and trying to jump anyway.
Yes. So the RAIB is looking into that one because, doors should shut something like 20 seconds before departure, I think they normally say. So just in case there is any issues, there is time to, deal with said issue. Fortunately, there were no injuries due to the incident. No. Oh, here we go. Fortunately, there were no injuries due to the incident, although a number of people were moving towards the train, and when the train started moving off, a passenger was standing in an open doorway. There you go. People were in danger.
Someone's got some splaining to do.
Yarr. That set should have been removed, not told to isolate the door safety mechanism.
The fact that you're able to isolate it to begin with sounds like a problem.
Yeah, because isolating your rolling stock is a big... Making sure everything's safe, be it on the move or stationary, is always a big part of the railways, as the military has found out. Again,
oh dear.
25th of May, around 21:10 hours, an empty wagon, so an empty container wagon sort of thing, ran away from the military munitions depot in Kinton.
How far did it go?
Covering a distance of more than 1 mile, passing 2 farm crossings and a level crossing for a public road before coming to a stop.
Did the level crossing activate?
I would assume so, because they activate on a wheel counter system, so it would have registered the wheel count going over. It
Right.
should have lowered. They're normally... yeah, but a wagon operated and owned by Kuhn Nagel, probably butchered that one. Under contract to the Ministry of Defence.
That sounds like German to me.
It is.
But I like that line. Prior to the wagon's escape.
Yeah, it had been secured via its parking brake, which was completed by the transport company. So, how, if the parking brakes are on, does a wagon just go yeet down the track without some?
That sounds to me like the wagon was faulty, and nobody picked it up.
Or it was sabotage, which has happened.
Well, at least there is a picture of it when it came to arrest.
Yes, so, I mean, I don't know why...
Looks like it stopped just after the crossing?
Might have done. I don't know.
Because I can see the whistle board.
Yeah, I don't know the layout of so yeah, they're looking into the actions of those involved and anything which may influence them. Drug test. The arrangements put in place by the transport company and the Ministry of Defence to control the risks of a vehicle runaway. Put chocks in it. Design and maintenance of the braking system on the wagon. They were buggered probably. And underlying management factors. So...
lack of maintenance.
Probably. We're just speculating here, of course. There is actually very little information. But this was in Warwickshire.
It also depends on how long it's been sitting.
Yeah. I mean, there could have been a leak in the brakes, or someone not put the brakes on properly. It could be a number of things.
Could be all of them.
There was the incident a few months ago that we didn't talk about down at a landfill site where someone did...
Is this the one that you told us about?
It's the one I told us about. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's related to my work. But yes, someone got on to site, took the handbrake off a loaded wagon that was full of loose materials.
Spoil, wasn't it?
Spoil, yeah. It was like a hopper full of stuff. So several thousand tons, or several hundred tons, maybe tens of tons. Rolled downhill slightly, through a crossing, up a little hill, and back through the same crossing a total of 9 times. Because it was in a little dip, ended up on top of the crossing. Thankfully, it didn't hit the car that went across the crossing during this incident, and the person has since been jailed for 15 years.
I'm not sure that's long enough, I'll be honest.
Yeah, apparently they had a bad day, so they decided to mess up somebody else's. But hey ho.
That's not an excuse.
No, that is definitely not an excuse, kids. So whatever you do not trespass, especially on the main line, because that's another point. Scotsman.
Oh yeah, that incident from a few days ago.
Yeah, people have been found again. Kids just sat.
Children have been found.
Yeah, kids just sat playing around on the main line. There was a video on Facebook that I saw of Flying Scotsman, and a father filmed it lying on the cess with his 2 kids stood next to him. Yeah, people don't go on the main line. Don't go on any railway if you're not qualified. If you've got no reason to be stood on the track, don't do it. Seriously, you will die. And I've had it where I've had near misses where trains have come at me and I didn't know they were coming. And I work on the railway. I was meant to be there. I was in the right position and everything. Turn around. There's a flipping wagon coming towards me. Right. So please, guys, don't. If you know someone's on the track, get them off. Tell them off. Call the police. Call the British Transport Police.
Take their photo and forward it to the RAIB.
Yeah, just don't do it. I mean, if you get caught, it's £1,000 fine. If that. And every year, people die on the railways. There was one the other day where Great Central Train hit someone on a crossing. So just don't take the risk.
Be your own fault if you do.
Yes, but I mean, you might look clear and everything, but as we know, wagons can run away. So
Wagons don't have horns.
wagons don't have horns, yeah. So just don't tempt fate.
And speaking of tempting fate, I think the Bluebell did that, didn't they?
How?
The hall running out of coal?
Oh, yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even do that? Like,
Either the fireman's not paying attention or they don't have enough coal on site.
wasn't there a thing like last year, or the year before, where one of the railtours locos ran out of coal because they didn't top it up?
I was on that rail tour. It was the Shakespearean with an 8F by West Coast. And because she was due somewhere else, they got on site the day before and the injector failed. So they spent all... or something. No, they got there late or something. They thought, we'll top it up in the morning. Got in the morning, heated her up. The injector failed, so they spent the rest of the morning mucking about with the injector, trying to get the injector working. By the time the injector working, they were due on their coaches and out onto the main line, so they didn't have time to refuel her. So we got back to left Stratford upon Avon, got to Tyseley, and had to have a diesel shunted onto the front.
Just goes to show you, always do your thing before you're meant to try and do it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't know what sort of time frame they were on when they arrived at their staging area the night before. If they were like, because the law says if you're over 12 hours, you have to stop and have to have a minimum of 12 hours break. So you can't work more than 12 hours, and then you need a 12-hour break between your next shift on the line. So if they were running...
It's above.
Yeah.
Well, minimum of 12 hours.
Yeah. So, but yeah. But leaving the railways for a minute, there's some more restorations going on that make things interesting.
Yes, we're off to Australia for this next one.
Right, we'll tick that one off.
This one caught me and a few others in my server by surprise. They found a tank.
1 minute. Right, go back to...
I don't know, but that was well timed.
Yeah, boom. Right, we'll roll back.
Once it was well timed.
Roll back to the clock where you saying go to Australia, so...
Right, yes, we're headed to Australia for this next one.
Right, take that one off the world list.
Yeah, they found a tank.
Okay, what sort of tank? Water tank? Petrol tank?
The tank in question... let's see, what exactly is it they found? They found a Grant.
A Grant tank?
Yes.
That's from World War II, isn't it? Oh, the M3
Yes,
Lee.
it is.
The M3 Lee.
Yeah, they found one of those hidden in some bushes.
Hidden in some bushes?
Yeah,
Just please.
like it was surrounded by brush.
Don't send me to war. I'll just hide here.
No, I think this is it's been there since after the war. I think whoever's owned it before probably used it as a tractor.
Okay.
Because that's one thing about tanks, they make excellent tractors.
Yeah.
So I think whoever's owned, like somebody's obviously bought it after as surplus, used it as a tractor, and it's just been dumped. So yeah, they found that little thing in. Oh, when did they find the first video they put up on YouTube for it was the 31st of May.
Okay.
So they're making decent amount of progress on it.
Which grant was it?
Oh, they started its engine up.
Wait, they started the engine?
Yeah, just like 12 hours ago, they put up a video on the YouTube channel for the Australian Armour and Artillery Museum. They've started its engine up.
Huh. Sweet. How long's it been sat there? Did they know? Roughly.
Let's see what they say.
Do they say which variant of the... so obviously, the M3 Lee is the American name, and then the British Commonwealth Service has called it the Grant 1, Grant 2, ARV, ARV1, Command, Scorpion 3, Scorpion 4. Oh, Australia had it the M3 BARV. Beach Armoured Recovery Vehicle. Oh, that's interesting. So which variant are we talking about?
Boy. Here? I don't know exactly which variant it is, but we'll put it on screen when we find out which one it is. But yeah, it's well and truly surrounded by trees when they found it.
Dang.
You can barely see the thing.
I'm surprised.
But you can still see its unit markings as well.
Oh yeah, have they got the unit?
Because there's one on the turret, it's a red triangle. And on the front of the tank, it's quite rusted, is this.
That is interesting. It's like a red triangle with a yellow triangle?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, they're cracking on with it.
You know what? I know someone who's going to be really annoyed that they got that engine going.
Who's that?
Our first guest. So, this gentleman is... now, this is a pre-recorded section we're about to go into, so it's just going to be me and the gentleman talking. Yeah. This gentleman is a rather quite quickly growing famous YouTuber. He owns several heritage vehicles, and I will say we do go off on a bit of a tangent here, but I would like to introduce to you all Laurie from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels. Welcome to Trackside Talks.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
This is obviously our first guest, so we'll see how this goes.
What an honour.
We'll see how this goes. So the reason I asked you on is you've recently added to your collection, shall we say.
I've made a terrible, terrible decision. That's what you mean.
Yes. So you already own several different heritage vehicles. Do you mind telling us what they are?
I can tell you what some of them are, mostly because some of them are still kind of hidden in the background. Not all of them are revealed.
Okay.
And also, I have honestly forgotten what some of them are. I think, last time I counted, I think I'm on 35, 34 or 30.
35?
Yeah, or 34. It gets a little bit...
Oh, wow. Okay. I obviously, I know about Jupiter, the Dennis fire engine. I know you've got a second fire engine.
Yeah, there's the remains, I'm going to call it the remains, of a Dodge G13.
Right.
So whereas my Dennis was a dedicated built fire engine, it was built as a fire engine.
Yes.
The modern way that fire engines are constructed is they take a standard lorry and another company will convert that lorry into a fire engine, add all the fire engine bits.
Yeah.
So
I'm big into my fire engines, so it's like Emergency One, Anglo, and Rosabar are like the top three at the moment.
Exactly. Did you see Emergency One's concept last year before, when they brought out the look for the battery, well, the electric powered one? And I was like,
I have seen a couple. There's one based on a Scania, and I think one based on a MAN or a Volvo.
how is this going to work? This is what, like, you come back from a shout and be like, sorry lads, we can't come to this new fire. Got to wait for the truck to recharge.
So just going on a tangent, LAFD, Los Angeles Fire Department, do actually have a Rosenbauer electric engine.
Do they?
Yes.
How does this actually function? Like, completely on tangent. We've gone way off from where we were going with this.
Question one, and we're already off tangent. This is going to go well. But yeah, so I'm big into the railways, but I'm also big into the fire engine things, and I love everything fire engine. So they've got engine 85. I will put a picture up on screen. It looks like a bus. I will send you a picture shortly, Laurie, as well. Let me see if I can quickly find it. But yes, it is an electric engine, and it looks kind of hideous. It was tested in the UK as well.
Right.
But I don't think we've gone for it, and I think another department in another country's just bought one as well.
Really?
Yeah, so it's got a...
Oh, wow, that is a weird thing.
That is a weird looking thing, yes.
It's somewhat between a airport crash tender and a bus.
Yes. So, obviously, owning the fire engine, you know what's sort of like in the crew compartment. You've got your seats up the back with your BA sets, and you've got your officer seat and your driver's seat. And obviously, in American fire engines, that center console is mainly where the engine would be. Well, that's not there. So it's a complete flat floor, more akin to a
it is a bus.
motorhome. So yeah, it's more of akin to a motorhome. So the officer and driver's seat can actually rotate.
Right.
So instead of looking over his shoulder and twisting his back, getting RSIs and repetitive strain injury, he can rotate round to speak to the crew in the back.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. They've got obviously nowadays everything's more electronic, so they've got a portable tablet for all their dispatch system, MDT, and all that lot. They've got shelving units inside the cab. I think the battery life was somewhere between the region of 2 to 4 hours, and then it has a diesel backup to push it up to 6 hours.
So that's where it is. You've got the electric, and then when you battery, because that's been my question. I assumed somewhere on, and the same for the emergency one concept, there must be a diesel generator, or they have like a massive. They just knock on the house next door. Excuse me, miss, do you mind if I plug in this 13 amp plug? We've just got to run the fire engine for a couple more hours.
Yeah, but no, they do have a backup diesel generator, and it can be on scene for like 2 hours with the battery running.
I mean, I'm not a fan of electric vehicles, but I very much understand the application of the electric motor. And for something like this, you've got that torque the whole way through, and it just makes sense for a vehicle like that to use an electric motor. Yes. I'm just not necessarily sure that batteries are the correct way. Oh wow, that interior is awesome!
I've just found a picture of one of the interiors, and I've just sent it to Laurie on Discord. So that's what that was. But I do know London actually does have an electric rescue unit. So they have a fire rescue unit, and they will deal with all the technical rescue stuff. So car accidents, high-rise rescues, rope rescues, collapsed buildings, and all that stuff. So there's not dealing with the pump side of things. And again, a lot of equipment is now going over to battery operated, such as the Jaws of Life and the spreaders and stuff. And going back to railways, because of course this is a railway chat, Robel is making battery operated track maintenance equipment.
I mean, we've had battery operated stuff for a while. You know, there's like the stuff that worked on the underground that had to be able to work on the areas where it wasn't accessible, and they went up to Epping and ran at Epinonga on the Heritage Railway a couple of years ago. I'm sure there was a big visit for them. So the battery take on the railways isn't a new thing. I mean, in fact, if you remember way back where my Ruston went to open, the Leiston Works Railway, the original railway was operated by a Aveling and Porter overtype steam locomotive, a traction engine on railway wheels, and which had the Aveling Porter badge removed and a Garrett badge put on the front, which is very funny. But when they replaced that, they used a battery locomotive, and so even in relatively early days, that was what the shunting power was for moving stuff around the site, was a battery locomotive. We keep going, it's brand new technology, but actually it's been around for ages. So when my Ruston went to the rebuilt line, that was the first time a diesel had ever run along the line.
Okay,
I thought that was cool.
Fair, that is very cool. But yes, so one of these new tools I actually saw the other day at a work site I went to, and it's a bants for doing like the fish plates and the chair screws.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I actually work trackside maintenance myself on private siding, so I use petrol operated machines a lot, and the bants is a pain to use, especially, you know, either line it down for doing your fish plates or standing up to do your bullhead chair bolts, or flat bottom chair bolts actually. But this one pivots. So the drive shaft is on a pivot, and then the battery is on a different section. So you could still be stood up while doing your fish plate bolts.
Does that mean it's a lot lighter and easier to use if it's on a separate bit?
I haven't used it, so I can't tell you. But anyway, shall we go back to the questions?
Oh yes, let's see where we are.
We've mentioned the Ruston. We've mentioned the Dennis RS. We've mentioned the Dodge fire engine.
The Dodge G13 converted by Mountain Range, who traded for about 10 years. So that's a rare old bird, that thing.
So obviously you got a Ruston diesel locomotive. It's an 040 shunter.
Yep, diesel mechanical. So it's a 3-speed epicyclic gearbox. Try that again. It's a 3-speed epicyclic gearbox, and so basically you've got an individual brake on each different gear, and when you engage, it brakes that, which then catches and gives you drive. It's made up of magic. We've opened up the top of my new one to have a look at it, and it's not what I expected at all, but it is entirely made out of magic. It's very strange. Yeah, exactly. There's 100% that inside it. But what it means is you can really control the power because you've got 3 clutches in there. So by gently pulling the lever into mesh, you can really nicely just very gently buffer up to something. Now, obviously, you don't want to slip the clutches too much because if you slip the clutches, that's wear, and you have to take the thing apart. And again, magic, and I do not want to disturb it. And there's plenty of stories. I think famously Quag, QUAD on the QAG on the Great Central, they used it to drag one of the either West Country or Battle of Britain, and it burnt the clutches out and it got stuck on the transfer at I think, was it Corn or the next station down? I think it was the next station down.
Corn and Woodhouse tends to be where they transfer stuff from.
On the point.
The road.
It was doing a shunt from one side to the other, and it got stuck halfway because they burnt the clutches out on it.
Okay.
So they're not exactly designed for taking a huge beating, but it's a lovely thing to control, and you stand on it, and it just feels strange because it's so short. Like being on a locomotive, you've got an expectation that there's going to be some kind of amount of locomotive off in front of you, and when you stand on the footplate, you look at it, well, I can almost reach the buffers at the front and the back.
So, besides railway fire engines, you own a few cars, am I to believe?
Yeah, there's quite a few. So kicking around, I've got a modern Mini on the road at the moment to be my most new thing, which was a £200 car bought sight on scene. Then kicking around in the shed at the moment, there is the Nissan NX, which is a car that I don't understand why anybody built it. I do not understand who they were marketing this car at. There's the 106, my MR2s, plural, one, and a turbo one, which is a Japanese import. There's the remains of a Lotus Elite, which is currently separated from the chassis, so I have a new body to go onto that. There is the Massey 40 Digger that's sat in the shed at the moment.
Ferguson Digger.
Yeah, so that was a fundraiser that was saved by the LMM community. I was doing a video walking around Scrapyard, be like, oh, look at that digger, that looks too complete to be here. And loads of people said, you should buy it. And I went, give me money and I'll buy it. And 2 hours later, I phoned up the Scrapyard and said, hello, I'd like to buy this digger, please.
My dad used to be a big fan of Massey Ferguson diggers. Now he just sits in
really?
rooms blowing out hot air. He's an ex-tractor fan.
Oh, really?
Bad jokes.
I got it and I just went, I'm going to ignore it and just smile.
Hopefully the audience had a giggle from it. So, what would be your favourite one then?
Oh, so that's, out of everything, my absolute favourite and the thing I'll never get rid of is Dupes. I absolutely adore that truck. The amount of issues it's given me, but I just love it. I absolutely adore it. In terms of cars, The 106 was my nan's, and so I love that car, not because it's a good car. And the 106 is a great first car and just a great thing to just use as a go-kart. But every time I get in it, I'm reminded of my nan. So it's a lovely link I've got back to her. But in terms of the best car I own, it's got to be the Turbo MR2. I love the MR2. I think they look amazing. And the Turbo one, it's got plenty of oomph. You put your foot down and it goes. It's practical enough that you and your one passenger can put enough things into the boot and the front to go away for a weekend, and you can have fun driving on all the roads on the way up. It's just, it's not the best car in the world, but it's got to be in the list of, in the top 100. They're just great cars.
Fair enough.
I love that. And the other thing I really love in the shed is my Reliant, because what an amazingly daft vehicle.
The Robin Reliant.
It's a Relato, so it followed the Robin, because the Robin developed such a terrible name for itself, because the steering wheel, how it's attached, it was basically nothing. So if you were an older person and used the steering wheel to help get yourself in and out, the steering wheel will become detached, and sometimes the steering wheel will become detached as you're driving, and this is a generally bad thing. So the Robin, as well as falling over, which they don't as much as you think, but they got a really bad reputation for falling apart. So when Reliant released their new version, they called it the Relato. And mine is a Relato Saloon, which apparently is quite rare.
I didn't realise there was a second generation of tri-wheel. I didn't realise there was a second one.
Oh yeah, it was the Regal before, then the Robin, then the Relato, then the Robin Mark II, then the Robin Mark III.
Ah, so they went back to the Robin name.
Oh yeah, there's lots of them. My Relato is amazing. The boot of it, the glass at the back doesn't open, so you just have a hatch that folds down to access your boot. Which means if you're my height, you have to be kind of bent double to see what you've actually put inside the boot.
Yeah, and you know how tall I am, so that's both of us with bad backs that day then.
Yeah, it's a terrible design. I drove it all the way to the Lake District 2 years ago, and swore never to drive it that far again.
So as we've said, you've made another terrible decision. As you said, you've added another locomotive to your fleet.
Yeah.
Care to tell us about it?
Hear me out on this, because there was a really sound bit of logic behind it. The wheel set on 294266, which is my mostly operational one, Sir William, that has extreme wear on the flanges, and so they are very thin. So we had put it down into restricted use at the Mid Suffolk Light Railway, and eventually, just before COVID, they went, we think we're going to stop this. And then COVID happened, and so not much has happened. But realistically, the wheel set now, the flanges are so thin that there's not enough meat left on the wheel set for me to turn it to restore the flange. So they need to be sent away and get new tyres. Now, pre-COVID, getting new tyres fitted to that was $10,500 was the best quote.
Jesus.
Yes, exactly. That was my reaction, and I don't have $10,500 kicking around.
No.
And the locomotive doesn't actually earn an income. It's the agreement is the railway can use it. In return for them using it, it lives there, and they take the responsibility for the day-to-day running and servicing. If something major happens, then it's my problem, like wheels. Right. So this has been an ongoing issue, and I'd kind of been looking around for trying to find another wheel set, and this photo appeared of a Ruston 48 sat in a scrapyard, and I went, "Ooh, I wonder if that's got wheels on it." And I couldn't find any up-to-date photos. I think the newest one I could find was 5 or 6 years old. So I phoned up a couple of scrapyards in the area, and eventually someone said, it's a stupid question, but do you have a locomotive that remains of a little diesel in your yard? And the guy was like, "Why do you want to know?" And I said, "Oh, I've got one, and I'm interested in maybe some of the parts of it may be useful to me for spares." And he went, "Oh yeah, no, we still got it. It's the back of the yard. You can come down." So came down, had a look at this thing. And they dragged it out of the undergrowth for us. And it was just sat there, and I thought, this is amazingly complete. And as I've obviously got one, I kind of started clambering over it, and I was like, well, everything for the engine's still here. Most of the little control box is still here. The radiator, the belts are still on it. Just everything down to the chains. The only thing that's missing is the tin work and a set of buffers. And suddenly my brain went from, let's get this set of wheels off this one, to go onto my one was
from spares to repairs to let's rebuild it.
Precisely. And so we lifted it up and got it in the air and inspected the wheels as best we could. Obviously, it's a working scrapyard, so there's not really the facilities to do a proper investigation. It's 7.5 tons of metal. But we looked around it and went, for as best as we can tell, those wheels look good. The flange is good on them. They passed the test on the gauge. Maybe they need a light turn, but they're much better than what I've got.
Yeah.
So I talked to the guy about money. He was less willing to have it split. So I think he was asking for £1,500 for the wheel set and £2,000 for the loco. I think that's what it is. It's been so long ago now, I can't remember. No, £2,500 for the locomotive. That's right, because it was more expensive than my first one.
Right.
To buy one in scrap condition. So we set this up and I went to the community and I went, hey guys, I need some help with this because I want to buy this to save it from scrap and also I want to steal the wheels off it. But, it seems like a project, and there's always been this romanticism about being able to save a locomotive from scrap. And I suppose it harks back probably to Thomas the Tank Engine and Oliver being saved.
Yes.
And I think that's probably left a really big mark on my psyche, this desire to save something and stop it being cut up. And it just as soon as it was there, the thing's been sat there for 39 years, 40 years. And the fact that it hadn't been cut up, I just went, it's too much of an opportunity and it's too much of a shame that it's sat here for so long that we really should just bring it out, because there aren't many locomotives of that vintage still sat around in scrapyards. I think there's a number of Andrew Barclays off the A1 up in just before Scotland or just over the border of Scotland. But finding stuff like this, it just doesn't happen. Anyway, I'm an idiot. That's the simple truth of the matter. I'm a full idiot and just went, yeah, this seems like a good idea. So the campaign went up and I think we'd raised the money to save it within 2 hours.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my other questions. Is did you expect to hit that target so quickly, and did you expect it? What was the total in the end? What was your when you saw that money coming in? Because I remember when I found out about the I think TJ or someone put it in the group chat we're in, and it was pretty much like a minute by minute run through of how much you'd raised, and by not even an hour or so it was fully funded.
It was mad. So no, is the simple answer. I didn't expect it to work at all. I obviously hoped it would, but I didn't expect it to. I thought I was asking for £4,000 because that would buy the thing and transport it home. And
yeah, because you've got transport costs and everything.
Yeah, which is so expensive these days.
Yeah, because you'd need proper heavy haulage, don't you? Even though it's such a small, dinky little diesel, you still need all the heavy haulage gear, don't you?
Oh, it still needs to be a proper machine. I mean, luckily with mine, we can do it with high-hab, but it's still a proper truck. I mean, that high-hab will lift 12 tons. It's a proper thing. Yeah. So I had big reservations about doing it full stop because I thought I was taking the mick. It was a lot to go to the community and ask them, and know that I have many projects, and I thought maybe the community might jump on that and say, well, you've got so many projects, what are you going to do with this? And as the video saying, look, this is what I want to do, come help me, went live, I sent a message to one of my friends, Charles, who's also in the chat, just with scared. And because I was thinking, if it doesn't go well, it's going to, it'd be a big embarrassment. And then, funny enough, I was out taking my mum out for dinner because it was her birthday.
Aww.
And it's very antisocial to be sat on your phone. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I just every time I refresh, there's more money in it." It's been saved now. Can you put your phone down? No, I can't because it's
sort of
so
get addicted, and you're like, "I've got to watch this. This can't be real."
It's utterly insane. So at time of recording this, the campaign is still going. So if you want to go and help. Yeah, if you want to go and help support it and be part of it, it's still live, and we're sat at £15,200 and something pounds.
Wow! Because I know you obviously you have bought it, and I did watch the follow up video where you got it to the railway and you started to go over it, but I didn't realise the campaign was still going. Yes,
I've decided I'm going to just keep it going until at least the first video showing the condition comes out of it, right. Just because. we know that the money there, as wonderful as that sounds to have 15 grand, that's not really going to see it restored. Especially realistically, there's the money now to get one set of wheels retired. So I can use the money of that to get Sir William's original set retired, which means that I at least have 2 good sets of wheels at the end of the process. But I've had one of my friends who also owns a Rustin 48, he's come and had a look at mine, and working on the costings of what he's had to do to his running engine compared to my totally seized engine, we're looking at least 4.5 grand on the block alone.
4.5 grand for the engine?
Just to do the work that he did on his, which was a running engine, bearing in mind that mine's not a running engine yet.
So you can't just spray some WD-40 on it and let's go?
I mean, I was hoping. I thought maybe if I chucked a load of diesel into it, and left it a week, it might turn. But it is well and truly seized. In fact, it is currently full of diesel. We've filled it up with diesel and hope it will free off. But we're talking about 4.5 grand for the engine. Then we have the gearbox, which may need work, may not. We don't know because we don't have a working engine to test it. All I know is it was going round when they dragged it out of the dragged it along because the wheel was turned, so the drive was turning. But the thing is also in gear, so that may have broken something in the gearbox. We don't really know.
So there goes the magic.
Yep, so the magic might have... It's kind of half in gear. It's not fully engaged, so hopefully it's just slipped and not done any damage to it, but we won't know until we actually start pulling it apart. And then there's the small matter of all the tin work on it. So, and 4 buffers and anything else it needs. So at 15 grand sounds an incredible sum of money, and I am so immensely grateful to the community and everybody who's got on board with this, because it's absolutely beyond my wildest expectations ever. But if you still want to throw some money in the kitty, that would be great, because it's going to cost a lot.
We'll put a link in the description for everyone. I said I honestly didn't realise it was still going on. So link in the description. If you can, please go and support Laurie with rebuilding
His latest bad decision.
Yeah. So
it's what I'm really excited though is to show this. This is a tiny diesel, of which all the substantial components, all the major bits of it are there. Some of them are very tired, some of them are seized, but everything that you actually need for a working locomotive is there. And it's going to cost at least, it's going to cost this £15,000 and more some. And I'm trying to, and I want to show through the series of the videos, make people appreciate the amount of work that has gone into restoring some of these Barry wrecks and things from scrapyards that have been saved. Because you look at, say, I don't know, something Great Western or Southern that came from Barry, and you see this gleaming machine just glide past, and you just go, oh yeah, it's been like that forever. And it's so easy to disconnect and forget the sheer amount of work. Or, I mean, even the stuff that gets done at Statfold. We see these hulks of an engine sat awaiting their turn.
I was going to say, look at the Davenport at Statfold. I've seen pictures of the Davenport, and she's sat on a flatbed, and you think that thing's never going to run again. Yet she's out.
The Davenport and Fiji, that was a diesel. I mean, that was converted to a diesel and put back. I mean, the sheer amount of hard work and money that goes into these things, and people just don't appreciate it. So hopefully showing how much work is going to go into doing a tiny silly little diesel to a full working engine, hopefully, and hopefully it's going to give people a bit more appreciation for the whole hobby and how much it costs. And so next time they go to a heritage railway or a museum of cars, tractors, whatever heritage events, they'll go, I appreciate that took a lot of time and effort and money. Good job.
Yeah, because it's not just the fact of getting something to run, it's also getting it to look presentable. It can still cost a lot of money. So obviously we've gone over, you've put diesel into the engine block. Is there any other changes since the last update video you can talk about?
So currently it's what we've done. We've done a bit of cleaning on it, the side that faces the public, and clean that up so it's got a coat of paint on it just so it looks a bit more presentable. And we've started disassembling the engine. So bits have, at this point in time, parts have been sent off to specialists to start working on them, which includes the injectors, which I heard back from just the other day. The gentleman who took them away with him, the specialist got back to him and went, oh yeah, we've got most of the bits to be able to rebuild these. Yeah, we should be able to rebuild these injectors.
Oh, that's good.
So that's positive. And so we're just basically waiting to hear the result of the top half of it and see where we go. That's basically where it is. Just and work out how much worse than it is than my friend's engine. So I don't think when I started this I was quite prepared to go, oh yeah, $4,500. Yeah, we'll just throw that onto an engine. That will be fine.
Did you have a rough idea of, obviously when you bought it, did you have a rough idea of, like, in your head, a guesstimate of how much in total you were potentially going to be spending on this?
No, I was estimating, depending on the state of the engine, somewhere between 10 and 20. So, and that wasn't including spending 10-ish on sorting the other wheel set out. So somewhere in the region between 10 and 20 was my thought, depending on the state of the engine. So we were already like 25% of the way through my upper estimate.
Oh dear. So that number's slowly going up, is it?
It's slowly going up. Once we get the engine going, most of it, as long as I can get the wheel set going, if I can get the engine and the wheel set sorted, then most of it is just smaller bits. It's just cleaning, painting, and refurbing. So the brake blocks, they'll go again. The brake rigging, that will go again. There's a couple other components that need cleaning up. Most of it at this stage, and what we're going to be opening up to the supporters and the public to do is to come and get involved, is just a big stripping operation. There's so much rust where it's expanded in there that we need to take so much of it apart just to clean up and replace some of the metalwork and just remove the rust and put it back together clean and painted and presentable. So there's a lot of work of just boring cleaning before we get onto the technical stuff.
Okay.
There's hours and hours and hours of work of just sitting there. So yeah, it's I keep going. It's better than I'd feared, but worse than I'd hoped. I mean, you've got to be brave to attack something like this after basically 40 years. That's 4 decades. It's longer than I've been alive. It's been sat doing nothing. The story goes that when they went to pick it up with a skip lorry, but when they went to pick it up, it drove itself over to where the skip lorry was. So it was running when parked.
Is this on rails or just across the ground?
I think they backed it up to the rails, from what I hear, and then just put the skip onto it, gas axe some holes in the side, put the chains in, and the skip lorry wouldn't pick it up. So they just kept gas axing bits off it until the skip lorry could pick it up.
So, obviously, we spoke about the engine and the joy you're going to have with that engine.
So much joy. I bet that moment when it starts for the first time, that's going to be just magic. So,
obviously, besides the engine, what do you reckon is going to be the hardest thing to replace and or make for the engine? Like the whole body?
If we have suspicions and worries over one of the heads, because it has 4 separate individual heads, and one of them
cylinder heads.
Yeah, one of those doesn't look particularly healthy. So if that can't be fixed or remachined, then that will be an issue. If I've got to try and find an head for an engine that was developed, and this particular one came out in 1955, I think was this one. So yeah, that will be a challenge. Hopefully we won't come onto that. So that's my biggest worry at the moment. The wheel sets, I know we can sort. It's just an amount of it's money getting it sorted. So yeah, I think that's my biggest worry so far. Again, talking to my friend who's rebuilt his engine, basically everything is available. I suppose the big worry is if the cylinder liners are knackered, then that's going to be a horrendously expensive job because they're wet liners, so we can remove them, but getting and fitting and machining new liners to go into it will just be... I'm committed to this engine's going to go. And I appreciate that's a stupid thing to say when one could buy a replacement and different power plant for a lot less money. But there's some kind of magic to making something that was thrown away and that anybody else would have given up on to us go, we're going to make this work. It will run again.
Well, it's the heart of the engine, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's part of that magic. And I understand that cost effectiveness to put a different unit in there, but at this point I'm very much going, if I can make this unit go, if there's a way that it will go, I want to see it run, and I want that unit, because I mean that's That's what I love about heritage as a whole. The whole fraternity, whether it be car, fire engine, tractor, railway,
Plane.
whatever, all of it. Yeah, it's all stuff that just it shouldn't be here anymore. Like take the collection at Statfold. Every single one of those locomotives is life expired. It's beyond its useful life. The job that it was bought to do and then sold and bought to do is finished. It's no longer wanted. It was thrown away. And somebody went, you know what? That's quite cool. We're going to keep that. It shouldn't be here. It should have been scrapped. It should have disappeared. And that's what I love about all these things.
What
is
makes
that
Statfold special as well is most of it's also foreign exports and they've come back to the country.
yeah, which is just mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it really shouldn't be here because that definitely should have been cut up when its job was finished. They should have cut that up, scrapped it, and it should have been gone. But the fact it's not, they're all impossible survivors that have survived against the odds and then been restored against the odds to still be working today. And I love that impossible survivor story to it. And that's what I feel about the Ruston. It's an impossible survivor. Realistically, somebody should have cut that up. I mean, they should have cut it up straight away. It should have been cut up within the 40 years that it's been sat in the scrapyard. Apparently, chatting to the guy who owns it, or owned it in the scrapyard, the reason they didn't is there was literally not enough metal on it to make it worth their while versus the time it would take to cut it up. But he was like, it will be a good day's worth of cutting that thing up, and it's not worth a day's worth of scrap. So we have other stuff we can do a lot easier. So it was just we couldn't be bothered.
Couldn't be bothered. Not worth the time and effort.
Yeah, for 40 years.
And then someone's come along and is putting in the time and effort to restart it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the guy who owned the scrapyard is really interested, so I keep sending him photos every time we do anything. The last message I sent him was a bit cheeky, being like, the engine is totally seized. You sold me a bad scrap engine.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a scrap merchant and I had something of that vintage sat around for decades, and I'm like, I'll deal with it another day, then someone come and bought it, I'd be like, you've got to keep me in the loop here.
Oh, he's proper excited. I've got another chat with him coming up because there is. I don't know if you saw the video of the walk around of the scrapyard. There is so much interesting gubbins. It's a proper old school scrapyard. There's a couple of old, I think they're Aveling Barford rollers, which turn out they're actually very rare, very early, from just after they finish with steam. So the engine hangs over the back of it, off where your coal bunker would be. Big 2-cylinder diesel. They're huge, great things, and they're just sat there. And I am so tempted to try and get some money together to save one. I don't know what to do with it. And I think the lighter one is a 9-ton and the heavy one's a 12-ton. So it's just a massive project because you need a low loader to move them and the money. But they're sat there, and there's a load of old tractors in various stages of disrepair. There was a 2-foot gauge wagon, wooden chassis wagon there. There's some very, very beyond repair cars and trucks. Like, there's just so, for someone like me, just walking around being like, I want so much of this.
So could we see another community fundraiser at some point in the future then?
Maybe. I did a video that came out today, and the big point, I was talking about fundraisers as part of the Love Your Railway thing, and the big thing about it is I don't think, as much as I'd love to save one of these rollers, A, I don't really have space for it, and B, I don't think I could go to the community again, especially in such a short time frame, and go, hey,
let's go for round 3.
Do you think we could? I mean, I'd love to, but I think that's really, really taking the mick, and I don't think I can do that. That said, I'm talking to a couple of people who are interested in them. If I could set up something, I'd like to see them saved regardless, whether or not I'm the owner. I'd like to see them saved.
Any save is better than no save.
Precisely, and I mean, they would need so much money. Those engines are going to be as knackered, if not more so, than my own. I think, reading up, they might have some weird early hydrostatic drive, in which case that was going to... I have no idea how to even fix that. One of them's got a broken casting on the front, which is where the worm gear interacts with a steering gear cog, which is now broken. And it would be a fortune. On the other hand, once they're gone, and they're at that point that they really do need to go somewhere safe and dry to be worked on.
Especially if there's something rare, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's one at Threatwold. Threatwold, is that how you say it, over in the Lake District? But there's one over at the Railways, the mining museum in the Lake District. There's one, I think, there. But yeah, they can't find. It's one of those things, you put it into the internet for images and you get like 2 returns. And at that point, you know you're dealing with a seriously rare piece of kit when there are absolutely no images or data about it on a simple search. So I'd like to save one of those. I'd be tempted, I'm genuinely tempted with one of the tractors in better condition, just as a how hard is it to restore a scrapyard tractor. Because I think that'd be a good series of videos. On the other hand, I do have a how hard is it to restore a scrapyard locomotive series that I'm now doing, so I don't necessarily need to do another one as well.
And you've still got all the other projects on the go, like retubing Jupiter and...
Oh, there's so much to do. I mean, a lot of my stuff, and people have before complained that I have too many projects. And I have 2 things to say to that. Firstly, everything I've got ludicrously cheap. I can't afford to say no to it cheap. And secondly, everything that I own is now safe. Now, I might not be the one who does it, but because of me, it's been kept dry, safe, and it's there for somebody else to take on in the future. So, and if you look today at the prices of cars, I couldn't afford to buy the collection I have now because the price of particularly that era of cars has just gone through the roof. I bought, when they were all like £500, sub £500 cars, and you can't buy cars or vehicles like that for that kind of price anymore. A £500 car is now £1,000 car, and the cars which are dirt cheap are like early 2000s into the late 2000s, which don't really interest me. And they also hit that stage now that they're too complicated. There's too much dependence on the computer systems, and you sit there just going, well, I do not understand this. The computer says it doesn't want to work, and that's the end of it.
Yes.
So I have all these projects that I have to work on for the rest of my life, to keep me amused for the rest of my life, and if I don't do them, they're there for somebody else. They still survive. They haven't been scrapped. They're there. And that's my main thing, is I appreciate that I will probably not get around to doing everything, particularly if I keep buying stuff, but at least it's there. At least it still exists and it's safe, and somebody else will get the opportunity to save it. So I'm not going to be the owner forever. I'm just the custodian for now, and hopefully at the end of it, somebody else will come along and look after them.
So, final question. Do you have a rough timeline for the Ruston?
That's how long's a piece of string. That depends entirely on money, how much time I can commit to it. Because obviously, I'm not sure if you know, but running a YouTube channel takes up a scary amount of time.
It does, yes. I'm a bit slow with mine. I sort of do mine as and when I feel like it, but I am trying to kick myself into gear with this podcast to do something a bit more.
It's hard. I mean, I release 2 videos a week, and most of those are normally long format, so we're talking between 10 to 40 minutes. And it's just my life. My life is editing and then going out and filming stuff, and the channel's getting big enough now that people are inviting me to go do stuff, which is incredible and amazing. And I just spend all my time. I do, on average, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 miles a month driving, just heading off, doing stuff, which is incredible, but it doesn't give me much time. So if we hit it every weekend, I reckon we'd have it turned around in a year, realistically. Not hitting it every weekend, I would hope that within 12 months we'll have the engine working, is what I would hope.
Okay.
And within 12 months, if we have the engine working, then we can get the bottom end back together again, and we can start having something that moves. Realistically, if it all goes well and we don't hit any major setbacks and have to start hunting for bits, and the money's there, I would realistically expect to see it done in about 3 years. He says optimistically.
Optimistically, very optimistically. Well, like I said, that was the last question I've got down. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Laurie.
No, thank you. It's been nice to chat. It's been nice to be here.
Yes.
It's nice to talk about stupid decisions that I've made.
Well, if there's any future developments, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again in the future at some point.
Oh yeah, it'd be great to come back, and hopefully with either you can have me at that moment that we've discovered something critically wrong, and just, so what have you done? Made a terrible mistake. How are you going to fix it? I don't know.
With a hammer.
Big hammer. Do you know one of the things I really want to do with it when it's done, either 303 or 266, is I want to take it to Statfold and run it up and down the standard gauge. They just have. I have provisionally talked about it, and it has got a provisional maybe when it's done of having 266.
We have had standard gauge running there before.
I just think it'd be fun.
Well,
But it's my
as long as you promise me at the go at the controls, I'll back you.
that's a fair deal, because that's my big plan with it. I want to take it places.
Yeah.
I want to do stuff. So we've provisionally talked to Didcot about it going down there for the next year. They're having an event, hopefully, of Pendennis Castle and Flying Scotsman together again, because they were both owned by Sir William. They were both shedmates for a while, and there's talk of maybe trying to get the Ruston, because it was also owned by Sir William, and possibly one other locomotive that was also owned by Sir William, together to have a Sir William fleet reunion. And I am so desperate for that to happen, just to have my tiny little 48, having to go across the main line somehow, but secondly, to be sat there next door to these giants once again, and just be there. Everyone's come down for Flying Scotsman, Pendennis, and then there's just a 48.
Along.
This is great.
Oh, you got me giggling now thinking about it.
Wouldn't it just be hilarious, just as it trundles past? I want more than anything. I want to take it to some of the bigger railways as well. I'd love to take it to, say, the Severn Valley or the Great Central, and just I know there was one at the Great Central, but just on the double track main line at Kinchley Lane, a 48 just trundles into view at full chat, doing a mighty 9 miles an hour, pulling a single brake van. And just
screw the timetable up so bad.
Can you imagine? And the photographers are there waiting for their shot. A few minutes later, they're still there, still waiting for their shot because it's not got close enough. I just love the idea of it doing stuff like that, and I really want to take it to some lines and just do daft trips with it. I mean, I'd love to take it up to like the North Yorkshire Moors, because there's so many beautiful photographic locations there for this 48 to just gently wear its way through. But I think it's hilarious. I like the idea of owning useless locomotives. There are things that I'd like to purchase, or things I've got my eye on for the next stage, which are just entirely useless locomotives, because I like that. Locomotives that have no other real use. And I'm like, nope, let's bring this, let's take it to the forefront, let's show it off to the world. I would, if I ever became like a huge YouTuber, like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, millions of subscribers, I'd take it to America. Because I would love to see Americans just unable to comprehend the size of this.
Right,
yeah, they'd be like, is it a model? Is it a toy?
That's the challenge then, guys. Watching this, we've got to get him to a million. Anyway, Laurie, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk again at some point in the future.
Thank you very much for having us. Sorry for all the tangents. It's been really good fun.
A pleasure.
And for everyone, do come and check out LMM. Support the journey, support the madness, and we'll see you there.
Link will be in the description. I think that's a big enough step. So
yeah.
Oh, right. So that was my interview the other day with Laurie. Yeah, so he's going to be annoyed to know that they've. I've got to say this was pre-recorded, so I can't get his reaction to finding out that they started the engine. But obviously, he's trying to see if he can get his engine started, and it doesn't.
Next thing we know, he got it started before the Australians did.
No, he didn't. No, on the Ruston, it was the interview with the Ruston, and he hasn't got it's sat in order at the moment. Yeah, so yeah, if they've started their engine up and he's still got his submerged in diesel, oops. So, but yeah, we're coming towards the end of it here, and sorry that interview took so long. But we're going across to the other side of the pond now.
Again.
Back to the United States of America, where Texas falls onto our radar.
This one popped up in one of the other servers I'm in. The Texas State Railroad has received $10 million in funding.
Sweet. That's state funding as well, isn't it?
I believe it is, yeah.
Yeah. Palestine, Texas, not the one that blew up in Ohio. Texas State Railroad, a heritage railway in East Texas, will receive $10 million under the budget passed last month by the state legislature. Funding will go towards capital projects that include tie and ballast works, so sleepers and ballast for our British people. Replacement of 100-year-old rails. Dang! 100-year-old rails and they're still running on it. Rail car maintenance.
If it ain't broke,
don't fix it. Safety improvements and other projects. $10 million. That is...
that could buy you 20 buckets.
what's a bucket?
J94. Austerity.
Oh, okay. Let me just find the US dollar.
I'm surprised you don't know that's the nickname for them.
That could... So $10 million is 7.83 million pounds. Exactly 782,637.96 pounds. So that is a lot of money for a railway.
Oh, yeah.
To say that Seven Valley's trying to raise 1.5.
That's so they can redo some of the track work again.
No, Seven Valley. This is to save the Seven Valley.
Oh, yes, because they've been having problems, haven't they?
Everybody's been having problems with finances in this country at the moment, yes. The Texas State Railroad operates a 25-mile line between Palestine and Rusk, featuring steam and diesel operations. 25
A fair distance.
miles. That is a fair distance. No wonder it's cost to them $10 million just to work on the track.
That's slightly longer than the That's slightly longer than the West Somerset.
How long is West Somerset's 18, isn't it?
Like 22?
Longest UK.
All the way to Norton Fitzwarren, anyway.
West Somerset is the longest heritage railway. Yeah. 20.5 miles.
That's enough.
So an extra 5 miles on top of the West Somerset. That's impressive. 10
Do you think when the Wensleydale get to their full length, they could go over 40?
Well, you've got the Norfolk Orbital as well, which is trying to connect several different lines.
I honestly don't think that's going to happen.
Do you not?
No.
I think Great Central, when they join up, is going to become like 19.
Sounds about right. But the Orbital Railway, I don't think is going to happen due to one reason.
Why?
From what I've been hearing from a few of the volunteers, the North Norfolk and the Mid Norfolk do not like each other one bit.
Well, yeah. I think the North Norfolk is a bit dodgy, from what I've heard anyway. But hey ho.
Not really. I was there a couple of weeks ago.
Were you?
47 on the vintage sets.
Fair enough. I'm sure there was one of them that I heard was not very well received. I can't remember.
I think it's the Mid Norfolk because they've been having a few problems recently, haven't they?
Have they?
Oh yeah, because I think part of the line's cut off, and DRS aren't happy about it.
Oh.
Because DRS, I think, use Mid Norfolk for storing stuff.
Oh dear.
And some of their stuff is now trapped.
Oh, very much dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to upset the mainline companies.
Don't upset the TOCs.
Yeah. So.
And going opposite way from upsetting people and back to the GC briefly.
Oh yeah, they've just had
the 50th anniversary.
That was a long train.
Yeah, 50 wagons for 50, they said, and I'm inclined to believe them. That was a lot of wagons.
That was a lot of wagons. Yeah, I think someone counted it, and there was like they said, oh, but it's 46 with 4 brake vans, and it's like, yeah, because they're not going to.
Brake vans count as wagons.
Brake vans count as wagon, but also they're not going to take the brake wagons off. They're just going to attach all of their pre-built.
Yeah, I saw like one of the tanker sets. The wind cutters was in there.
Wind cutters is their longest freight set. There's the mixed traffic as well. They've got the new tanker set. I think the wind cutters is like 25. 25.
The wind cutters is a lot. It's a lot of mineral wagons.
Yeah.
It's only fitting that they got the 9F to do it.
Oh, definitely. I missed that weekend, unfortunately, but apparently they had a really good time with it. But yeah, congratulations to GCR to 20 years. Actually, while we're talking about the GCR, let's hop on over and see if there's any update on the bridge.
The bridge over the motorway and the main line.
Yeah, so the update as of January was the last update, really, because they did another money match March where they match every pound. The first 3 parts of the project are... So, again, this is 26th January 2023. Welcome to the first reunification update of 2023. There's a lot of good news. The first 3 parts of the project are now ready for track laying, representing millions of pounds of investment. Next, as our fundraiser campaign for the A6 bridge replacement last year went so well, we didn't need to dip into any funds we'd already raised. This means we now have an incredible 1.4 million banked and ready to spend. Even better is for the Turn of Money March. Every pound donated in March, online, via cheque, blah, 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 will be matched by a donor up to the incredible £150,000. If fully subscribed, by the start of April, they would have had 1.7 million for the work ahead. We're going to concentrate on the factory flyover this year. We want to start building again as soon as possible, so your money goes into bricks, metal and concrete rather than just fighting inflation. Remember, the factory flyover is actually 2 phases in one. We have to cross Railway Terrace Road and then the car park of a factory. We're currently expecting it to cost just under £3 million. So
it's a hefty amount of money.
But they're halfway there in funding. Our to-do list is keep raising money, secure planning consent for the work, and begin building by the end of the year. In November, they had the A6 bridge in. Yeah, October the old.
I know they had at least one of the bridges in.
Yeah, the A6 bridge is in. The A6 bridge is in. By the looks of it. Yeah, there we go. A6 is in. The A60, sorry, is in. The railway bridge over the main line, Midland Main Line, was in years ago. So it's literally just this one bridge left to build over the car park and the road, which really isn't that far in the grand scheme of things. An embankment, and that's it. They're ready to go. They just need to lay the track.
Well, they would need to move Loughborough MPD.
Well, yes, they need to move. They need to, but I think by the time they start laying track, they're going to have to move the MPD anyway to get the track down there and get the materials down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that would need to be moved.
There was talk about moving the shed completely to the side somewhere, but if you think about it, if they rejoin both sides as it is anyway, they've got an engineering works all over the railway, so.
Yeah, I think it might be an idea if they have some engine facilities down at Leicester North.
Right. No, they don't have anything at Leicester North.
No, I would say it'd be a wise idea to have something down there, just so they can run trains from both sides.
They're trying to build a museum at Leicester North, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Yeah, that keeps falling through.
Yeah. The problem with Leicester North is you've got the bridge and the station, and then you've got an allotment next to it, and then at the other end of the station, you're on the top of a hill. So there's not really much you can do round there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got...
They couldn't go further into Leicester.
No. You've also got at the Nottingham end, they've got their works and everything. So it's going to be interesting. So...
HST's all the way to Leicester.
Ooh. Well, once they've joined up the main line, joined up the two tracks, they're going to have access to the main line, so they could get Flying Scotsman and the A4s in and do a proper express run
without having to use the roads.
Yeah, because Scotsman and some of the mainline engines aren't allowed to go by road.
Probably because they're too tall.
No, the owners just don't want them to go by road. It's as simple as that.
I generally thought it was because it was too tall. Because wasn't it the king had to get his chimney taken off?
Not sure on that front, but I have heard that they're just not wanting to go by road. So, but anyway, this storm.
Especially after the incident with the taffy tank.
Yeah, this storm's passed. So shall we get back out there?
If we have to.
If we have to, got to get paid, don't we? Come on.